Good morning, everyone, and welcome into episode number 6 of Wake and Take. I'm so glad everyone could join me this morning. I've got tons of stuff going on for you in the YouTube chat. I'm actually not only live streaming here on YouTube, but live streaming on our Instagram, Roto Underworld, and live streaming on our TikTok, Player Profiler, going on all the platforms live this morning to talk to you guys about what happened this weekend at the NFL Combine. Tons and tons and tons to talk about. Most importantly, we're going to be talking about Anthony Richardson, Bijan Robinson, Jaxon Smith-Njigba, and then just kind of all the drills in general. Plus, there's some contract stuff heating up with Lamar Jackson. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into today. All right, so yeah, like I said, I just want to talk about the Combine, so we'll just go drill by drill at first and kind of talk about some of the best performers. So with the 40-yard dash, it was led basically by defensive backs, but so we had 3 cornerbacks come in the top 5. That'd be DJ Turner led the way with a 4.26 40-yard dash, and last out of the top 5 is another cornerback, Deonte Banks out of Maryland. So these are 2 Big Ten corners in the top 5 that are super speedy. The other cornerback in the top 5 is another Maryland cornerback, Jacorian Bennett. So whatever is going on in the Big Ten, tons of great stuff in terms of speed. For fantasy relevant players, though, we did have 2 fantasy relevant players that were top 5 in 40-yard dash. That was Devin McCaney and Trey Palmer out of Nebraska. So those 2 guys, very speedy. A 4.32 from Devin and a 4.33 from Trey Palmer. In terms of the 10-yard split, let's just do some fantasy relevance. Let's just talk about fantasy relevant players. So the 10-yard split was actually led by a wide receiver out of TCU, Darius Davis. He had a 1.46 second 10-yard split. Obviously, he's going to have a great burst score on our website. And if I may, every single rookie from the NFL Combine, all of their stats have already been applied to the player pages on PlayerProfiler.com. So you can go check it out yourself, go see it, as well as a new edition of Raw Athletic Score. So great stuff coming from our website. Our team has been boots on the ground at the Combine, Cody especially, bringing great stuff, and then our web designers and everything filling out all the data that was needed to make it possible. So go check out all of those scores on our website, playerprofiler.com. And one other fantasy relevant player had a good 10-yard split in the top 5. That'd be Cincinnati wide receiver Trey Tucker. He had a 1.48 10-yard split. And for the vertical jump, believe it or not, no offensive players, not a single wide receiver, especially is what you would expect to have a high vertical. Not a single one of them made the top 5. So this was a safety, a cornerback, an edge. So Nolan Smith was the 4th highest vertical jump, the edge out of UGA. Big man over there, jumping high, just a true athlete. Great to see. But when you go to the broad jump with 3 wide receivers in the top 5, Jalen Hyatt, the wide receiver out of Tennessee, Liberty wide receiver Demario Douglas, and TCU wide receiver Quentin Johnson. All of those guys jumped 11 feet, 3 inches for Jalen Hyatt, 2 extra inches for Demario Douglas and Quentin Johnson. Now, this is where it gets really special. Now we're getting into the agility drills. The 3-cone shuttle was led by none other than Jaxon Smith-Njigba. He had 6.5 second 3-cone shuttle. Killed it in his agility drills. He also led the way in the 20-yard shuttle, running that in 3.93 seconds. No one was under 4 seconds. And yeah, I mean, it looked great for him. A wide receiver actually appeared on both of those as well. He was number 5 in both categories, Andre Iosivas out of Princeton. So good for him. That's someone to keep an eye on. I think that's the kind of guy that might hit the Alec Pierce track, just kind of get drafted early, get some good draft capital and go on a team that should be decent and, might actually have a role when he starts out. We'll see for sure, but that's someone I kind of want to keep an eye on. Also in the 20-yard shuttle, 2 tight ends made the top 5. So that's going to be Darnell Washington out of UGA and the Old Dominion tight end, Zach Kuntz. Both of them did great in this 20-yard shuttle. Both of them had great combines in general. Those two tight ends definitely made some money at the combine. And last but not least, we had the bench press. No offensive players did well in the bench press. However, I do want to talk about Michigan defensive tackle Mazi Smith. He had 34 reps. Next was 31, so 3 extra reps on the bench press for him. Obviously clearing away the best in that category at this combine. So those are all the drills. Those were the leaders. Let's talk about these players, right? The 3 big players that everyone had their eye on going into the combine: Anthony Richardson, Jaxon Smith-Njigba, and Bijan Robinson. All 3 did very well, some more than others. We'll start with Bijan Robinson. He came into this combine expected to be the number 1 overall pick in all fantasy football formats, rookie-wise. And, you know, that might start to come into question. It isn't that he had a bad combine. It's that he didn't have the best combine. He was 6th among running backs in the 40-yard dash with a 4.46. He was 3rd in the 10-yard split, tied with Roshan, by the way, with a 1.52. And then he was 6th in the vertical jump, 37 inches, 4th in the broad jump, 10 feet, 4 inches. And he only had the number 5 athleticism score on our website for running backs in this class. So the 5th most athletic running back in this class on our website. Number 210th most athletic running back of all time on our website. So right in the top third of athletic running backs. 123 just out of all the athletes in this class. He was the 123rd out of 205. So not even in the top half of athletes in this class. And if you're just curious how he ranks all time among all positions, 3,462nd most athletic player among all positions that we have scored on our website. So again, in the bottom half, it to me was a bit of a disappointment. However, you can look at the percentiles and it's still pretty good. So he had an 86th percentile 40-yard dash, 89th percentile speed score, and 82nd percentile burst score. So nothing went into the 90s, nothing world breaking, but still an elite high class athlete, just not quite the performance you wanted. He still has great film, still looks amazing, and will still come with high draft capital and go to hopefully an explosive offense. But I think you've got to come to terms that he will not be drafted in the first round. If Breece Hall didn't do it, I don't see how Bijan Robinson can do it. And yeah, I think even that you could argue now, as I mentioned when I first started this, that Bijan Robinson might have lost the 101 role, especially in Superflex leagues, because the title of today's show, the most athletic quarterback of all time, Anthony Richardson, went out there and destroyed the NFL Combine. Before I get into his rankings, or into his performance there, I want to talk about our athleticism score. I've brought it up a couple times, and this is a score that summarizes a player's workout metrics, and it normalizes it for size. So we aggregate everyone's 40-yard dash, their burst score, agility score, and then some other factors that are relevant to fantasy. And then we give premiums to big players that are also speed, quick, and explosive. And then also by position, we add some weight. So for quarterbacks, we add a height premium. For running backs, we add a BMI premium. And for wide receivers and tight ends, we add both. So if you weigh a lot and you're tall, then that adds a decent bit too to your athleticism score. So that has helped Anthony Richardson a ton. He is 6'4", 231 pounds, 10 pounds heavier and 3 inches taller than Jalen Hurts. And he ran the 3rd fastest 40-yard dash of all time with of a quarterback with a 4.43, faster than Michael Vick. His 10-yard split, again, 3rd best all time among quarterbacks with a 1.53 10-yard split, tied with Jalen Hurts. And then his vertical was the best all time, 40.5 inches. His broad jump, the best all time, 10 feet 9 inches. So absolutely destroyed the combine. We have ranked him the number 1 most athletic quarterback of all time among 280 quarterbacks. Anthony Richardson has come up to number 1. He's number 12 in this class among all positions. So out of the 205 rookies coming in, Anthony Richardson is the 12th most athletic at 6'4", 231 pounds and a quarterback. Just among all positions, all time, 70th out of 5,635 people. And it's important to remember, though, while he is a freak athlete and has completely elevated his draft stock, he will still be a project. He will still be a project. He only completed 53.8% of his passes last year, 17 touchdowns, 9 interceptions in the 12 games. It's obviously not the best in terms of being a passer, but that's what a prospect is all about. You're getting a guy that can reach a high ceiling in Anthony Richardson. And I think if he ends up going to a team to where he doesn't have to start immediately, that it's going to be fantastic. To fulfill Jack Kavanaugh's dreams, the host of Player Profiler today, I would love if he could land in Detroit because you don't have to start in Detroit. You can still roll out there with Jared Goff for a little bit and let this guy learn. He does have some stuff to work on, but you are getting a freak athlete in the Florida quarterback, Anthony Richardson. Just absolutely destroyed the combine. The dude has made millions of dollars because of his performance. And I think we might start to see him go number 1 overall in the Superflex mock drafts going forward. And that'll of course change as landing position comes in with the actual draft. But I think the hype surrounding Anthony Richardson right now is through the roof. And I mean, Bijan Robinson has now slid down to number 2 in Superflex leagues, I think. So if you have the 102 in your Superflex fantasy leagues, congratulations. You're still going to be able to get Bijan when you thought you might not. And if, Bijan still does go number 1, you're going to get Anthony Richardson, which is just fantastic. So it's a great draft class coming up. And yeah. One last player that I want to talk about is Jaxon Smith-Njigba. He did sit out of the 40-yard dash. So we're not going to see his 40 time, but where he did perform, as I mentioned, the 3-cone shuttle and the 20-yard shuttle. He did great. He did fantastic. He led the class in both of those categories. He had the 4th best 20-yard shuttle of all time amongst wide receivers and the 12th best 3-cone shuttle of all time. Elite world-class ability. On our website, he has come in at a 99th percentile agility score. So great for him. His burst, not as good, 54th percentile, but again, we didn't get his 40-yard dash, which is part of that equation. But even then, 54th percentile isn't bad. That's still above average in this league. That is above the average wide receiver. And it's important to remember too, these NFL athletes are world class too. I mean, like even a 1 percentile NFL score burst is better than you and me. So seeing a 54th percentile burst still means that this guy's amazing. He's elite, and I'm very excited to see what team gets him. All of the comps are coming in that he's just going to be the next Amon-Ra St. Brown, which is definitely possible. He's got the skill set. And that's something I would definitely love for him, depending on landing spot. I've been hoping, I guess manifesting, you could call it. Just I really hope he goes to the Chargers. I think he'd be a fantastic successor to Keenan Allen. And I mean, they need the help. Mike Williams is way too inconsistent and injury prone. And of course, Keenan Allen's getting old. Even Austin Eckler's getting up there. And they need one more elite weapon. And I really think Jaxon Smith-Njigba would slot in there very, very nicely. Very, very nicely. So those were the 3 players that really dominated this year's combine by position. Anthony Richardson, again, the most athletic quarterback of all time, absolutely crushed every category that he performed in, and I mean, has made millions and millions of dollars. Bijan Robinson didn't do the best among running backs in this, but still, just the fact that he was very, very good in every category is still something to be said. The worst he did was 6th in a category. So he's fine. He's fine. Like I said, the number 5 most athletic running back in this class, factoring in everything, but still, I mean, that's still really good. And just go back and watch the tape. There is more to being an NFL prospect than just what you do at the combine. And if I might even quote Dan Campbell from last week going into the combine, he said, it's more about film than it is about guys running around in pajamas. So yeah, he may not have dominated per se, but he still did very, 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 very well. And I'm excited to see where he ends up landing. And I mean, the fact that he has maybe lost a little bit of some draft stock might mean that he ends up on a more fantasy relevant offense, because obviously, you get later into the draft, obviously the better teams are picking. So So that's definitely something to keep your eye on. Then again, Jaxon Smith-Njigba, world-class agility, looked fantastic. Very excited to see where he ends up. And yeah, that's the news from the combine. That's all you guys should care about. However, there's some more news that came out this morning surrounding Lamar Jackson's contract. It's looking like the Ravens will be using a non-exclusive franchise tag. What that means is he will be on the Ravens under contract, but teams can still try to beat their contract essentially. And so if they use this tag, that means teams can offer contracts to Lamar Jackson, and then the Ravens will have the opportunity to either deny that contract and be like, no, that's too much money and we can't afford that, he can leave, or to be like, no, he's we're going to match that contract, we can do just as well. So if they do choose to deny an offer that comes in, that means they'll be compensated 2 first-round picks from whatever team offers a better contract. What it's coming out to be is that the Falcons are going to be the number 1 team out there trying to get Lamar Jackson. That makes a ton of sense. I know last week I talked about on Trade Gods, Desmond Ridder's a goodbye candidate, and if he does end up being the starter, that's why. But I mean, he's still also a fantastic backup. You did see them cut Marcus Mariota, which means they don't have depth in the QB room. So if they were to bring in Lamar Jackson, obviously Desmond Ridder slides to that backup spot and he becomes a really good backup and fits in the same system. I do think, though, the Falcons will not be moving away from mobile quarterback. I've seen mocks where people are like bringing in like the Derek Carrs of the world. The Falcons will not do that. They will not do that. They will only, if they are bringing in a quarterback that is a veteran, their name will be Lamar Jackson. It will not be Derek Carr or anyone else that ends up on the market that isn't a mobile quarterback. That's something I can say for sure. We know that with the system. We know that last year where they decided to shop Matt Ryan, a guy who had been with the franchise forever, and then to just bring in Marcus Mariota instead of that guy. So it shows what they want to use in their system, and it's not a statue quarterback. So if they do get Lamar Jackson, that's fantastic for everyone. Drake London, Kyle Pitts especially. We've seen what Lamar has done for Mark Andrews. So, I mean, if you want to start taking jabs at Falcons targets in fantasy trades, I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. If Lamar Jackson does end up there, that's going to be fantastic. And it's looking like they will have the chance. I mean, the Falcons have the second most cap in the NFL right now. So if the Ravens do use this non-exclusive franchise tag, which it looks like they will, the Falcons will 100% be sending, I mean, basically all their money to go get him. So definitely something to keep your eye on. Yeah. Any other questions? I see I've got some from the audience here on TikTok. Who do I think the Cowboys are going to get? I've heard a lot of affinity for Bijan Robinson. We'll see. I don't really think that's a great move, but I know that they are looking at bringing in the future of their running back room, even with Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. I think they should probably just, go the classic, probably get a wide receiver, to be honest. I would like to see someone go along with CeeDee Lamb, but even then, if they just bolster their offensive line to be even better than it already is, that would be great too. Yeah. And I mean, that's all the questions I can see. Thank you all for joining me today. I love hosting the show every morning. I'll see you all tomorrow, 10 a.m. on the YouTube, on the Instagram, on the TikTok. Have a fantastic day.
Hey, you like that video? Be sure to subscribe and activate those alerts so you get notified as soon as new videos drop. And be sure to check out PlayerProfiler.com. We have all the tools for you to dominate every type of fantasy league. We have a draft kit, Dynasty Deluxe, data analysis, DFS Dominator, and don't forget the player rankings to rule them all.